Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Monday Night Baseball, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk Style. That's it. My name is Scott Morgan of Florida City Madmouth. Pleased to be joined by my great crew tonight, beginning with Bigfoot Barryfoot. Hi, Dave Yon, partner.
Howdy, howdy.
Howdy, howdy. And we got Eric Katz. You talk about a guy who's a great writer and a great broadcaster. This guy has them both.
Thank you, Scott. It's good to be back with everybody.
And if you want a world championship, you can go to Warren Brewstar, who's a star in more ways than one. Not only is he great on the air, but he's also good on the diamond.
Thank you, Scott. Great to be here.
You're welcome.
Good evening to everybody.
I'll tell you, we love having you guys on. You guys are my top. I tell you what, Candy will tell you, I promote you guys big time throughout the network. That's for sure. My great 1-2 punch on the field, and I'm proud. I actually try to build every show around the model I have on Monday Night Baseball with Bigfoot and Warren. So this is what we have. And we have Hollywood Tony, at least for tonight. And he goes to Bessemer City Tony on Wednesday.
Let's go. How you guys doing?
All right. And last but not least, our producer, our statistician, and a whole lot more, we have Candy Ebling. So we're going to talk about a glimpse in MLB's future, but I have some announcements I want to make right away. Beginning on July 11th, Eric Katz and Tony will have their own show, and they're going to pick up talking baseball on Saturday mornings. We're looking at about 9 or 10 o'clock Eastern time on that for sure. So, Eric, you've certainly earned the opportunity, and Tony, you've made such an impression in a short time. Excited to make you two partners, and Eric, obviously, and you will do a great job leading that show for sure. So, proud to have both of you guys doing that show. I will be on probably in around May 16th up until their launch time, so they get an idea how I do it. I'm not saying they have to duplicate everything I'm doing. I don't particularly care. And then after that, they take the training wheels off and let these two go out there and get it. So there you go, Eric. How do you feel about this opportunity?
I feel great, especially having the own show, especially the sport that I love dearly, which is baseball. Which I've loved it for. I've been around a ball field for just about most of my life, and can't wait to bring it on air, because y'all might as well tune in, because you have no idea what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I got to figure that out by now. That's why you're getting your own show, and I hope a lot of people that are watching on YouTube or wherever they're watching realize that Taxi out there is the guy who's going to get me the lead dog. He'll continue, but his primary responsibility, he will be on 4 sports exchanges. He'll come on this show probably once or twice a month, and then he's free to do what he needs to do on Saturday. And with him and Tony is a great compliment, since Tony's actually had him on your podcast, right, Tony? What's your podcast, by the way?
Talking Game. So he helped me. I think he kicked off my MLB series before the opening day. So yeah, we talk baseball. I'm gonna be the guy kind of reeling him in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna go wild. I'm all right. Let's bring it in a little bit, but it's gonna be fun for sure.
Nice try talkative, Tony.
Yeah, good luck trying to reel him in. All right, we have Cynthia Adams in here. Thanks a lot, Cynthia, for popping in. All right, lots to get to, and we're gonna start off with a guy by the name of John Olerud. According to Vintage Bubblegum, did you know that John Olerud, who, by the way, now at 57, is one of only 29 players to hit for the cycle multiple times during his major league career? Olerud hit his first cycle in 1997 with the New York Mets. He accomplished the feat a second time with the Seattle Mariners during the team's magical 2001 season, where Seattle finished with a league best 116 wins while claiming the AL West crown. Okay, Barry, John Olerud, you want to talk about one of the most underrated players, in my opinion. And this guy's unbelievable that he hit the cycle multiple times. A lot of guys can't say that.
Yeah, I knew him when he was a kid with the Blue Jays organization, and his father, I think, also was a baseball player. And yeah, he was a good hitter. It doesn't surprise me a little bit, because he couldn't really run, and he obviously, you got to hit a triple to get to hit for the cycle. So it's impressive. It's an impressive thing to do, hard to do, and usually it's because of the triple. It's hard to get those triples.
Okay, Eric.
I remember Olerud probably late in his career, mostly with the Seattle Mariners. I know he was a Yankee there for a minute, for about a half a year when he came over from Seattle and was part of that 04 Yankees team. But he was always, to me, he never got the love he deserved. He was always a great hitter, and it's hard to hit a cycle. I mean, it is hard, especially the triple, because you got to be fast in order to get them. Unless you're playing at the Brewer Stadium, American Family Field, where if you dump one into the right field corner, that has three bagger all the way over there. We call it triples country out there. But it's pretty impressive for a guy to have hit for a cycle multiple times when he was never really that fast, and he only had he never had more than like 3 stolen bases in a season.
What do you think, Uncle Warren?
Well, he was a great hitter, without question. I mean, he hit 300 numerous times in his career. So he was a great hitter, and wore a helmet every time he played. He had an aneurysm when he was at college at Washington State, and he had to wear a helmet. The doctors advised him to keep a helmet on his head just in case he got hit in the head. And Ricky Henderson, there's a famous story that when they were teammates in New York, then he wore his helmet, and then he was now traded to Seattle or went to Seattle, and Ricky Henderson came to Seattle and said, I played with a guy in New York who wore a helmet just like you did, not realizing it was the same guy. Yeah, that's Ricky Henderson's story.
That's a great story. God, you and Barry come up with some good ones. Last week, Barry, did you get that text I sent you about the one story that we talked about? And I told you a great story, and I'm sure you probably did. That was just unbelievable. We talked about you catching that game where what's his name, Dennis Lamp got whacked. All right, that was
yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
that was just surreal. All right, Hollywood.
Yeah, great hitter. This shows, hey man, sometimes just put the ball in play and let's see what happens. Being only one of 2 people in the MLB with this long history to have done something shows how special it is. And he's at the time, I don't know if it's happened since then, was only the second person to hit for a cycle. So that's amazing. I would like to know how did this start, because it feels like cycles start when you get the triple first. So I wonder, like, what was the first hit he got in these cycles? That's the one thing I'm gonna have to do some research and find out. Or Candy, you always know how to find these little nooks and crannies. You know what I'm saying? I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just saying. That's
well,
the
yes,
thing.
you are, but that's okay. Yes, you are. She's gonna be last anyway. Darn well she's gonna do it. But go ahead, keep going, Hollywood. It's okay. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Like, how did he start his cycle? But 2 in what, a 3-4 year span is crazy, man. Players go their whole career and can't hit for a cycle for numerous reasons. Some might be fast enough, but they don't have the power, or they might have the power and they're not fast enough, vice versa. However that goes. So that's very interesting that he was able to do that twice. Like I say, being one of only 2 people in MLB to do something, that's an amazing feat.
See, I'd be wondering how many cycles there have been hit at Comerica Park in Detroit, especially before they moved the fences in, because, if you earn one there, then you really earn one. But, of course, now they moved the fences in, but Comerica Park in Detroit would be one I would always be curious about. All right, Candy, there's a reason why you're last, and this is it. Fill in the blanks, young lady.
So I have a couple of different stats I want to go with. There's 29 modern era MLB players that have achieved hitting the cycle twice. The record for most career cycles is 3, shared by 6 players: Christian Yelich, Trey Turner, Andre Beltre, Bob Musil, Babe Herman, and John Riley. Now, of that, Yelich is the only player to hit all 3 of his cycles against the same team, against the Cincinnati Reds. And Adrian Beltre is the only player to hit for the cycle with different teams in the same ballpark. Now, as far as John, he actually hit it twice. He is making him one of the few players to achieve this milestone in both the National and American leagues. His first accomplished the feat on September 11th of 1997 with the New York Mets, and for a second time on June 16th, 2001 with the Seattle Mariners. Now, it does say the second cycle he hit as a Mariner, he completed the cycle against San Diego Padres at Qualcomm Stadium, securing the feat with a 9th inning home run.
Wow.
So he had gotten the triple earlier in the, but I'd have to go back to the specific days. It tells me the date that he got them, but not exactly the. But yeah, did you also know that John Olerud is in? Let me just get that back. He is in the College Baseball Hall of Fame. He was inducted. He's also in the Canadian Hall of Fame as well. And there is an actual award that in the collegiate, the John Olerud Two-Way Player of the Year award is named after him as well. He was in 2016 named Pac-12 Player of the Century.
Wow.
When the conference released its all-century baseball team. So just a couple other facts about him.
All right, great stuff, John Olerud. I think the one thing that strikes me about all of this is, like Uncle Warren mentioned, the guy hit for multiple 300 seasons. I still think that he's the most underrated player on the planet. Well, since we talked about Seattle Mariners, now we're going to go ahead and segue to him a little bit. I want to talk about the Mariners' all-time lineup. So get this. We'll start with the outfielders. You got Ichiro Suzuki, Ken Griffey Jr., Jay Buhner, a guy that I remember watching. Barry, I'm sure you will remember him as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have Kyle Seager, Alex Rodriguez, Brett Boone, Alvin Davis, and pitching you have Felix Hernandez. And then your relief pitcher is, let me get these Japanese names right, Kazuhiro Sasaki, catcher Dan Wilson, your designated hitter is Edgar Martinez, and yes, you know him pretty well, Barry, like we all do, Lou Piniella. Well, you talk about a monster group. I think Seattle's pretty well represented, don't you, Bear?
Yeah, a lot of Hall of Famers. That's usually a good criteria to start with. Now, I didn't think I heard you say Cal Raleigh. Because Cal Raleigh, if he may not have played long enough, but he's going to be their catcher of all time.
Right, I agree.
Sure.
Yeah, but how about you had to have worked with a few? I mean, Lou Piniella, I remember interviewing him many years ago. I always looked at Lou Piniella as the next Billy Martin. He learned a lot from Billy Martin with the way he conducted himself on the field. So that's a pretty good group of players out there, Bear.
Oh,
and managers.
Yep.
All right, Eric.
I mean, I think you can add Julio. You're going to be able to add a Julio Rodriguez onto that list as well when it's all said and done. Great
Right.
player. I mean, there's a reason Seattle dumped all that money to him. And I don't know. I'm hoping you can put Felix Hernandez on there. I know on that list too, because King Felix was a dominant in the American League for a very long time, and he's got a perfect game. But Jay Buhner, I know because the Yankees were dumb enough to trade him for Ken Phelps, courtesy of Seinfeld there.
There you go. All right, Uncle Warren, that's a pretty interesting list. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah, it's a great list. There's a lot of Hall of Famers, like Barry said. They have a bunch of Hall of Fame players, and it's tough to line up just to have just one player in each position. They had a bunch of outstanding pitching. Randy Johnson, Mark Langston, and the past closer. They kind of flew under the radar because they play up in the Northwest, and the games are on. Their night games are late at night. They don't start till 10:30 on the West or on the East Coast, so they kind of fly under the radar. Mm-hmm. A lot of their players are have a hard time making names for themselves because they're not out in the public. They don't get as much exposure as all the teams on the East Coast and Midwest do.
All right, Hollywood.
Yeah, man, that was just a great list of players, and you mentioned King Felix, and the first thing I thought was, hey, man, what about Randy Johnson? Are you part of Peter? Is the issue because of the bird situation? What's going on? But
he's getting his number retired this coming week.
Get his number retired. Yeah, man. Great things happening in the Pacific Northwest. It's a good thing when they're great in baseball, and you could see the players that they be able to have come through there. I agree with you, Eric. I think at one point Julio Rodriguez would be able to be in that outfield of great Mariners players. It'd probably be Ichiro, Griffey, and Julio Rodriguez at some point. But man, whenever I think of Seattle,
Gotta put Griffey on.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever I think of Seattle,
Don't forget Gar.
Yeah.
Don't forget Gar.
True. But I think Griffey all the time when I'm thinking Seattle. Hat backwards, sweetest swing ever. Like that's what really made me a baseball fan as a kid. So shout out to Ken Griffey.
Okay, Candy.
You know, when you think of like New York and LA, you're thinking of the big TV market. So you really don't think of Seattle in that frame of mind. But yet some of these players are a household name, like Ichiro Suzuki, like he all-time hits leader, had a 321 batting average. Ken Griffey was obviously the face of the franchise. He was known for his elite hitting, his 417 home runs, and we forget sometimes about his stellar defense. Like he was a really good outfielder. But yeah, how do you not put like Randy Johnson in there? Robinson Cano, obviously.
Yeah. About him. Well, come on, Candy. Robinson Cano.
No way, Robinson Cano.
No way. Candy, sorry about that. I'm not drinking the Cano Kool-Aid. Sorry.
Don't drink it.
He was only good for a few years in Seattle.
I got you.
Keep going, Candy. You come up with another line like you had for the commissioner. We're waiting for that. Now you're expected to do this. That's what we've got.
Well, I only need to come up with that once a show. It doesn't mean that necessarily this is the topic it's going to be. That
well, it won't be on this topic, but we're waiting for you a few more to get it figured out. That was a classic line in case I missed it last week. Candy, why don't you go over it with everybody and when you talked about Rob Manfred, okay, because that was pretty good.
Well, we were talking about the difference between Manfred and Selig and the differences, and I just said, with Manfred, it's who we got right now. So, what choice do we have? I mean, we don't get to pick and choose. He's who we got.
Yeah, but that's still a classic, Andy. Okay, let's continue on to the next one. This doesn't happen. It does happen every now and then, but last summer it did. As Sir Anthony Dominguez was actually essentially traded across the ballpark between the doubleheader. This involved the Toronto Blue Jays and the Baltimore Orioles. This does happen. What are your thoughts about how this would actually work out?
Yeah, it happens on occasion. It's almost as unique as being traded for a player to be traded to be named later, and you end up being the player to be named later. So some of these things, interesting things, do happen, but it's very rare. But it's got to be a little weird, especially. Was he a pitcher?
Yes.
No.
Yeah,
Sir Anthony, he is. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about somebody else. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, if you were a pitcher and you had a little thing going with a player on the other team, and now you're a teammate, you kind of get over those things if you get traded in a season, but in the same series, could be really interesting fireworks. But yeah, that's an oddity for the game.
Okay, well, we got some interesting things in the chat room. You know what? After we hang in there, JD and Cyberuski, but we got to get through this particular topic. What are your thoughts, okay, Eric, about in-game trade? Eric?
What? Oh, Eric? I covered the rookie. I think he meant the Rockies. Well, cool.
We're talking about this trade here that occurred.
Oh, my bad.
Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Oh yeah, it does happen. I mean, it even happened to Jose Caballero, which went from the Rays to the Yankees right on the field. So sometimes it works out where you just switch locker rooms. I know it's happened all over baseball. I know it famously happened when the A's in 2002 got Ricardo Racon, which was documented in Moneyball when the then Indians were playing the A's that night. And he came over to the A's locker room, and so it does happen. But it's pretty convenient because all you have to do is walk to the other clubhouse.
All right, Uncle Warren.
Yeah, it makes it simple. Just walk from one clubhouse to the other. So you got to introduce yourself to your new teammates, and what a better way to do it while you happen to be there with your ex team. That's And the one I remember the most was Joel Youngblood. Joel Youngblood got traded, got a base hit in the game, day game. I believe it was in Chicago or New York. I can't remember which. Got on a plane to San Francisco and got a hit that night with a team that he got traded to. So he had hits in both games in the same day.
Man, it's pretty surreal. All
And
right, Hollywood.
And also, just to add a little, I think he ended up playing 163 games that year. He was like one of the only guys to ever play more than 162 games in a season.
That's incredible. Yeah, if you can play 162, 63 games by getting traded that way, that's even really wilder. Great stuff, Uncle Warren. Thanks for putting it in there. All right, Hollywood.
Hey, look, 2 hits one day. If I get traded, I need a day off. All right, I need a day off. All right, I gotta reel in my thoughts and know what's going on. It's one of the funny yet weird things in baseball. It's the only sport where something like that can happen. It seems like doubleheaders is the perfect place to insert that trade because you're already there for 2 games. You got a little bit of time in between. Clearly, the GMs probably can meet in person and like figure this out and just talk face to face or whatever. I think the Yankees did that just last year.
Yeah, with Caballero.
He just literally walked across the diamond, which was wild. I don't know how I feel about it though. I feel like it's a little off to do that, in the middle of playing with your team in that moment. But you got to flip the switch. That's something that can happen and is a business, right? So that's baseball for you. It's one of the quirks. 2 hits, 2 different teams. I would love to jump at the opportunity of that though.
All right, Candy. This is surreal. We don't need 9 million facts. Maybe 4.5 million will work. But go ahead. What do you got?
So, yes, to Warren's point, Joel Youngblood played for 2 different teams in 2 different cities on the same day. There have been 2 players that were traded for themselves. Players like Harry Chitty from 1962 and John McDonald from 2005 were traded and returned to their original team within the same season. Similar in-series trades occurred with Jake Dickerman in 2018 and Scott Feldman in 2016. And yes, we've already talked about Dominguez and Caballero. The one that I think is the most odd is Danny Jansen back in 2024 because he made history by playing for both teams in a single resumed game. So in the same game, he played at one point for the Blue Jays and at one point from the Red Sox because it was called and cut and resumed later due to weather. So he is the one player that has played for both teams in one single game. I think that's pretty odd.
All right, so we have some lighthearted questions in the chat. We like an active chat, right, Bear? So here we go. So we're going to go with one from JD. Question for Bigfoot. What size shoe do you wear? I mean, come on. I think it's all right. I can let this one slip through.
12.
Okay, there you go. Answer the question. So now JD goes with Eric. What is esports? No more belly up? Okay, you made a career change recently, so that's all right. Give him a little update.
Yes, I'm writing for Scott now full time. Belly Up, I wrote for them for 5 years, had a blast, and it was just, I just found a better opportunity to do more. So, got all hats off to Belly Up. I mean, still in touch with people over there, and they are kind enough to share my stuff and like my stuff, and so no hard feelings over there. Just better opportunity, and I had my run over there.
Great stuff. We're glad to have you on full time. All right, Hollywood, Tony, Florida or California? That's actually a more legitimate question than most people think because very few people realize that there's a Hollywood, Florida, and I lived in Hollywood, Florida. It's a cool place with the boardwalk, but we'll answer that question. I like questions like this. They're not too off base, but yet they're other questions that people might go ahead and go for there.
I'm in Florida, but we're talking Hollywood, California with me, baby. I'm for the stars.
Okay, well, fair enough. This is our path. Okay, and we'll go from there. Let's move on to the next topic. We're going to talk about some baseball history, and we're going to talk about Jim Thome joining the 600 home run club back on August 15, 2011. All right, Bear, this guy was a heck of a player, and he knew how to he knew what to do with the whooping stick? Jim Thome.
Well, indulge me. I'll get a quick Jim Thome story.
Good. I'm glad we find something to
1979.
indulge every time.
1979, I'm playing with the Cubs, and this kid comes to the dugout with his father. And, as you well know, in Chicago, the fans can get right on top of you at the dugout. This kid's leaning in, looking in, wanting Dave Kingman. Kingman was a hard sign before the game. So I grabbed the kid, put him in the dugout, took him down. He got a bunch of autographs, didn't get Kingman, but he got about everybody else's autograph. Put him back up in the stands. I said, did you lose somebody? Put him back up in the stands with his daddy. Turned out to be Jim Thome.
Oh, great story. Love it. You always come up with a good one every week. And this one, obviously,
That's why I always tell people, you just never know. You sign the autographs. Be good to these kids. First of all, it's a life moment for them, something they'll never forget. And you never know. You might have a Jim Thome jump down in the club in the dugout once in a while.
I love the story, Barry. Yeah, JD, that's pretty interesting. Scotty Slapper, for those that don't know me, I don't get called that a lot except for you and your your friends, but that's okay. Scotty Slapper, I think it's appropriate in some cases. But anyway, some thoughts, Eric, about Jim Thome.
Oh, great hitter. Great hitter. I was fortunate enough to see him when he was with the Chicago White Sox. I remember him, with Cleveland and obviously with Philadelphia. I remember him with the White Sox being able to see him. I even saw him hit a home run. It was about, I think, a homer or two before he hit number 500 in Chicago. But no one nicer, no one classier in the game than Jim Thome. And to this day, he still is. I mean, he's still very much liked around Cleveland and Philadelphia. I mean, no matter where he went, he was loved, and it's just can't ask much more from a guy who's a star.
And I think the Detroit Tigers are glad he retired, because I'll tell you, the Tigers are one of his favorite. Not for really love those home runs for sure. All right, Uncle Warren.
Yeah, he was a great hitter, great home run hitter. Obviously he hit over 600 home runs. And their ballparks weren't big enough to hold his blast. He hit them out of everywhere. He hit absolute bombs. He was country strong. Boy, he was a strong, big man. I got a chance to know him a little bit when I coached in the Philly organization when he was with the Phillies. And great guy, just a super, super person.
All right, Hollywood.
Yeah, Jim Thome get a hold of the ball. It's going far.
Yeah.
Right. I wish I would have been able to just sit and watch him do batting practice one day, because I'm sure that was a sight to behold.
It was.
Yeah, I could only imagine. The thing about Jim Thome that people probably don't talk about enough is he hit for a pretty decent average to be a power hitter. Like, he wasn't just out here home run a bust, right? His career average 276. He had at least one year, I think a couple years, where he hit over 300. So he wasn't just out here home run a bust. He was a real hitter, a certified hitter. 600 home runs, man, one of the best of all time. I'm glad I was able to see a lot of those.
Andy.
Throughout his career, his strength was power hitting. In 12 different seasons, he hit at least 30 home runs, topping 40 home runs in 6 of those seasons. He hit a career high 52 home runs in 2002, and in 2003, 47. And let's face it, he also had a bad back, so that didn't help. Thome is the career leader in walk-off home runs with 13, and one of his trademarks was his unique batting stance, in which he held the bat out with his right hand and pointed it at right field before the pitcher threw, something he first saw in the movie The Natural.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Thome was a beast, that's for sure. He can hit him out of anywhere. All right, let's continue on with the slugger theme as we talk about baseball history again, because on August 25th, 1986, Mark McGwire hit his first home run, Barry. His first. Take it from there.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, when McGwire was he was incredible. You think about his rookie season, he had 43 home runs, 40-some home runs as a rookie, and that was before there was any possibility of juicing. There's no doubt. I was coaching first base, and I was standing over there, and I looked at the sleeve on his shirt could not contain his arm. It was about to split open, and he had some acne. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of strange. And it turns out that there was a reason behind that. But he was really a good hitter, no matter the fact that obviously he may have had some help, but he was still a great hitter, great power hitter. And when he and Canseco, we went to Oakland, the visiting team that usually doesn't watch the opposing team take batting practice, but as a coach, we used to go out there and just watch those two guys. It was amazing what they could do in batting practice. So, yeah, he was something, really.
Hey, Perry, did you ever buy Jose Canseco's book, Juice? Because I read part of it. And
oh, yeah.
What were your thoughts about that book?
Well, at first I thought it was a lot of BS. It turned out he was like right on the money. He was telling, unfortunately, the truth about most of it. A little bit of a strange cat. If you'll recall, his twin brother, was in the Yankees organization. So we had his twin brother over there when I was managing the minor leagues. Nice kid, but it was interesting. One season he came out. He went out the year before at 190, came in the next year at 220, and he said, "You should see my brother. He's 235." So they figured out the formula.
Yeah, Ozzie Canseco, I believe, was his brother's name. If I remember.
Yeah, Ozzie was his brother. Yeah.
Okay, all right, Eric, take it from there.
I mean, it's I know the McGwire. I mean, obviously he's known for the 98, the summer of '98 with him and Sosa going after Roger Maris's home run record. I mean, it took a rookie. It took until Aaron Judge for McGwire's home run record to fall his rookie home run record to fall, which I believe was in 2017. So that says a lot about where McGwire was at the time. Obviously, he was one of the Bash brothers during the '80s with the Oakland A's with Jose Canseco. Although I will say though, Jose Canseco is an interesting guy both then and now. Sometimes not for good reasons. But you can't deny baseball was entertaining at that point. Guys hitting Titanic like blast all the way to the third deck. So you can say what you want now in hindsight about steroids, but shoot, for everyone who said it now, I'm sure they were watching baseball day in and day out then. So let's not be hypocritical here.
Uncle Warren?
Well, the one thing I remember most about Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco in 1986 when they were rookies in camp with Oakland, I was still with the Cubs. I was in spring training with the Cubs, and we go over to play them at Phoenix Stadium. Phoenix Stadium's like 360 down the left field line, 430 to center, huge ballpark. And they had about 8 or 10 pitchers up on the hillside. These guys were launching balls, and these guys were catching them on the hillside out of the ballpark. They were hitting them 450 feet. It was amazing what they were doing. They were hitting bomb after bomb after bomb. And obviously, eventually, he got to the big leagues, and the rest is all history.
Well, I mean, these guys certainly gave batting practice a new meaning for sure.
Yes.
Tony?
Yeah, first of 583, right? That's the beginning of the legend of the Big Mac. Barry, it's funny the story. You look at a little acne, and now with hindsight, you're like, that wasn't a rash. That was a little extra going on there. Look, that's what I was 7 in '98, right? So that's what captured me as a baseball fan. So I'm always give Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa that. I remember coming home to watch them play against each other, to see who was going to win and who was going to go for that race. So, hey, man, that was the first of what got me into baseball in a sense, now that I'm thinking about it. What got me excited to watch it as a kid.
Well, say what you want about Sosa and McGwire, but they saved baseball at a time when that 1994 strike literally killed it, them and Cal Ripken Jr. So they needed them in the worst way. Say what you want about whether they belong in the Hall of Fame. That's another conversation. By the way, on next week's edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, I'm going to go ahead and spend time because we haven't had much time with the Broke Baseball Classic talking about this year's Hall of Fame class. So I hope you can stay with us. Eric, I'm going to have you on that show as well because I know you'll have some strong opinions on it. And of course, we'll be taking a break later on in the month. So, all right, Candy.
McGwire and Sosa made the National League relevant. They made the National League exciting back in that time. But did you know McGwire is considered one of the slowest runners in the game?
Yeah.
McGwire only hit 6 triples, the second fewest of any player with at least 7,000 plate appearances. He had 12 stolen bases while being caught 8 times. His 1,626 hits is the lowest for all members of the 500 home run club.
Well, it's safe to say he was going to be hit for any cycles, as we mentioned with John Overroot as well. So only
Correct.
6 triples doesn't get it done. One more trip down baseball history, and this one's a long flag, a long way. But I got to mention it because baseball history saw Walter Johnson of the Washington Senators earned his first career win, beating Cleveland Naps on August 7th, way back when, 7-2. The Big Train would tally to have 416 victories during his 21-year career. Walter Johnson, Washington Senators, buried some thoughts.
Well, tell me, what'd you think of him when you saw him pitch?
Oh, I thought he was great. Through my grandfathers and all my grandfathers.
Look, he was legendary. I've seen some videos of him. He kind of threw low 3/4, and he had a little bit of a weird sort of stride the way he did, but obviously he could bring some heat, and he had the numbers to back it up. So he was a great one.
Eric?
I mean, yeah, Walter Johnson. I mean, that's considered to be one of the greatest pitchers of all time. Between him and Cy Young, we think we have it good now with Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens, but man, Walter Johnson was on another planet compared to those two.
Uncle Warren?
Yeah, well, he was a great pitcher, and back in the day when, those guys pitched every 4th day, so he got the opportunity, and he and Cy Young are the only two pitchers to have over 400 victories, which obviously will never be touched again. But he was, like Barry said, he was a sidearm, low 3/4. I can imagine how tough he was on right-handed hitters. That low 3/4, those right-handers are going to be bailing, just like the left-handers did when Randy Johnson pitched. They didn't want any part of him. But I'm sure the right-handed hitters didn't want any part of Walter Johnson back in the day.
Imagine. All right, Hollywood Tony, we know this way before your time, but you research good. Go ahead.
802 games pitched is crazy to think about. Like that, I can't even wrap my mind around a pitcher being called in to pitch 802 times. 666 starts, also crazy. Like these numbers that I see is like we talk about untouchable stats or records. That's not even the record, right? And that's not even going to be touched. It's amazing to see. I always think about my dad. What's a pitch count? What's this and a third? You should be able to throw all the time. And it's like, this is why people do not understand the players of this generation and how they're get treated with kid gloves when you see stuff like this. A little bit before my time, like you mentioned, Scott. So I didn't get to see it live, but it's still amazing to see and read about.
Hey, Tony, if it's a little bit before your time, and I tell you it's a little bit before my time, Barry might say the same. This is not one of the situations. I don't know about you, Uncle Warren, probably a little bit before your time too.
Yeah,
We realize that in this particular say, Tony, no worries. The fountain of youth isn't going back then, but all I know is you went out there and gave some unbelievable numbers that Candy will be able to work on and make magic out of them later because she knows about all this OPIX clips and all these reels, whatever you want to call them. All right, Candy, let's see what your research digs up with this guy.
He has established several records, some of which will remain unbroken. He remains by far the all-time career leader in shutouts with 110 shutouts. Second in wins with 417. And here's the one that I know will never be touched. Fourth in complete games with 531. 531 complete games. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me?
They barely let him have one.
You and everybody else, right?
He led the league in strikeouts for 12 total seasons, 8 of which were consecutive, both all-time records. He is the only pitcher in Major League history to record more than 400 wins and strike out more than 3,500 batters.
Enough said. I don't have much more to say. All I know is yes, indeed, for sure. Okay. He's got a lot of unbelievable records. All right, let's go up north of the border because Mark Shapiro's contract was renewed as CEO and president of the Toronto Blue Jays. You like the move there?
Well, he's a good baseball guy. He's been successful in Cleveland. Now he's successful in Toronto. They're lucky to have him. I think the Blue Jays appear to be well set up to be successful for quite a few years. So I'm glad for him.
Okay, Eric.
I mean, Mark Shapiro. I mean, he was the then Cleveland Indians GM for a long time, and then became the president of baseball. Then he kind of got promoted to president there, and now he's in Toronto. I mean, I'd say, yeah. I mean, you have an experienced president of baseball ops right in the palm of your hand. And last year, the Blue Jays were within a Miguel Rojas home run away from winning it all. I mean, fans of a certain age will say that was Blue Monday too. I mean, yeah, you always try and keep those guys with experience around. I mean, he was the part of the brain that kind of developed that core with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And he's made some nice moves there. Kevin Gossman's been a long time standing figure inside that starting rotation, and so with all the moves he's made and the things that he's accomplished, I think he deserves to stick around. I mean, he's a very smart baseball man. I mean, yes, things aren't going to go right, but good for Toronto though for sticking with it because It's not always easy to do. But if you stick with continuity, if you really want your organization to be successful, you got to go with continuity. Yes, it's not always going to be perfect. Sometimes it's going to be flat out ugly. But if you just stick to the script and stick to the plan, good things will happen. It's why in football the Pittsburgh Steelers have had all that success where they've decided even during the bleak years to stay the course. It's why other teams like the Cubs had all that success because they followed the script with Theo Epstein, and boom, they broke the Billy Goat curse. And the same could be said with the Boston Red Sox and Terry Francona. But good for Toronto though for value and continuity because there were some bleak years there. There really were, but good for them for sticking with the plan.
Great points, Eric. Great stuff. Okay, Uncle Warren.
Well, he's definitely a great baseball man, without question. Did a great job in Cleveland. Now he's just continuing his legacy in Toronto. They gave him a 5-year contract, and it gives the organization stability. So they know what the people in the front office, and he's done a good job of procuring players and making them competitive. So he deserves everything he gets, an extension and everything he's earned, what he's getting. And it's good for the organization. It's good for him, good for the organization. It's a win-win.
Okay, Hollywood.
Yeah, definitely continuity, right? That's the word that's been said. And winning brings extensions and money. So you take a team to the World Series, you help build that team, you're going to get extended, you're going to get paid. And that's kind of what's happening with him. Like you said, Eric, there, a Miguel Rojas home run, a play at a plate, 2 or 3 inches away from actually being World Series champions. And then even more people probably get paid, right? So this is no surprise here.
Candy.
This executive who graduated from Princeton University back in 89, joined the Cleveland Indians 91. He worked his way up from player development director to assistant general manager and then became their general manager. Then in 2015, he started in the Toronto Blue Jays organization, and he's stayed there. I mean, there's something to be said about longevity. knowing the club, working well. Obviously, they like him. Otherwise, they wouldn't give him a 5-year extension. Kudos to them and to him. And he's seen the growth of the Blue Jays. Who knows what they'll do this year?
Okay, the recent signing that took place, Baltimore Orioles had it. Shane Bass signed a 5-year contract, $65 million with Baltimore. So talk about that signing, Barry.
And look, it's probably cheap in today's world. That's not a lot of money. It's probably
Right.
Win-win for the organization and the player. So, look, I'm all for these guys. Make all the money they can, because I think next year is going to be a very interesting year for baseball. We'll see what's going to happen.
Eric?
I mean, it's like Barry said, it's going to be very, very, it's going to be a very, very, fluid. I mean, we don't know how the landscape's going to change. We don't know how it's all going to turn out, but good for, the Pirates think that Connor Griffin is the real deal. And so far he's off to a decent start in Pittsburgh. And so I good for them for signing him now. That's kind of become the model these days, which is sign your young guys now. The Brewers did it with Jackson Churro and recently did it with Cooper Pratt. The Braves did it with their core with Ronald Acuna, and the Mariners did it with Julio Rodriguez. Something about Julio Rodriguez tonight, and they the idea is give them the money now, so when they become really big, you won't get burned on the free market. I'd say the Atlanta Braves, they paraded that. The Brewers followed that with Jackson Churro, because with Jackson Churro, there's no way the Brewers would be able to afford him if he ever hit the open market. No shot, but they get him. But if it works well, and sometimes it doesn't. The White Sox found out the hard way with Eloy Jimenez. It can work out really well for your payroll.
So you like the Orioles locking up Bass for 5 years?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, Uncle Warren.
Well, it gives the organization stability. Not only makes the player happy, but it gives them people that they can count on. That's like we've all said. They're trying to lock up these young guys, so when they do become free agents, they don't break the bank, and they can afford them. Right. So they can do it down the road or do it beforehand. So down the road, they'll stay in the organization. So you don't have to keep turning players over and producing more players out of your farm system and taking your lumps that way. So it's good for the organization, good for the player.
Hollywood.
Yeah, I think it's smart to do this because, look, man, you want to avoid arbitration. You want to avoid a Terry Scoop situation where you're trying to lowball people and all that. But on the flip side, though, Warren and Eric, I don't think this helps when it does come time for free agency, because those contracts will come up. The difference is now you might have a Juan Soto situation where you're 25, 26, and you're young and you're in this open market, and you may actually end up getting more money now going forward. I do think this is the new model. You're seeing it everywhere. Like you say, you're seeing it in Seattle. You're seeing the Braves have been doing this since Ozzie Albies. You know what I'm saying? They've done this. Is a great idea. But I think it's smart for the players, man. You 26, 27, you can go get you $300, $400, $500 million. That's the number. You gotta have to come with it, no matter what.
See, for the clubs that buys you time, for the players, they can tell they have another contract waiting. Great point, Tony. Go ahead, Candace.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's good for the club because they have continuity. They don't have to be redoing all these contracts every year if they sign. And I think it gives them a chance to feel them out. Let's face it, not everybody is going to gel within your organization. So it's good to get these guys young, try and get them acclimated to the big leagues, acclimated to your locker room, your clubhouse, and then reward them early because that gives them stability and it gives the kids or the players, they don't have to think about it every year. They don't have to keep thinking about a new contract or anything like that. They can just go out and continue to develop their game.
Okay, let's go to our featured topic of the night. That's the title of the show, A Glimpse in MLB's Future. So let's go ahead and talk about what we have out here, and that's this. Connor Griffin, we're going to get to in a moment, but he's the number one overall pick with Pittsburgh for the Indianapolis Indians. He obviously made it to the big leagues, but this came out before he did. Got Colt Emerson, number 9 overall, Tacoma Rainiers. Max Clark, number 10 overall, Toledo Mud Hens. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when he gets to Detroit. Walter Jenkins, no relation to Walter Johnson, although you have the WJ anyways. Okay. Number 14 overall, St. Paul Saints. Then you also have Travis Bazzana, number 20 overall, Columbus Clippers. And obviously, he's pretty well known for what he did with Team Australia. And there you have it. So with that said, Barry, that's a pretty good glimpse into the future for sure for a lot of these clubs.
Yeah, I think so. You know, if you're going to be really successful as an organization, your first round draft picks have got to be successful. If they're not, you can still be successful, but it certainly helps if those high draft picks, go out and have good major league careers.
Eric?
For obviously for the big market teams that go to the that you can count on them going to the postseason every year. It's you gotta hit on those picks. You just do. The small market teams that especially have to hit on them because player development is ultimately what they're going to, at least in the way the game's laid out right now, it's ultimately what they're going to need to do in order to be successful. The Brewers have done a good job of that in recent years. With guys like Bryce Terang, who's blossoming into a star. And Houston hit it big when they were rebuilding and were able to have that decade of dominance, and Baltimore certainly did with getting Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson in round 1 and 2. So you really got to hit on those picks. I mean, I think Pittsburgh is counting on Connor Griffin to be that franchise guy. There's a reason they gave him the extension now, despite him never taking the field, and. So they think he's going to be a cornerstone of the future where hopefully they can propel Paul Skeens to the postseason.
Great stuff, Eric. Okay, Uncle Warren.
Yeah, well, I think that was a lot of Pittsburgh's thinking, but behind signing him to the 9-year extension is they can get Paul Skeens to stay there in Pittsburgh. They're going to have to do everything they can to sign him, and their pitching staff is doing very, very well this year. So, things are looking up in Pittsburgh, and that starts with signing these young kids, believing in your scouting department and your player development to continue to develop players and make them a contender again.
So, Uncle Warren, we're going to talk about some of these other prospects. Yeah, because there's no question about that. And he makes a good point. He's really 100% right. Eric Katz is like an encyclopedia. How does he remember this stuff? Well, guess what? This kid knows what he's talking about. He may be 30 years old, but he acts way older than that because he loves the game. But we're going to talk about some of these other prospects. We know that obviously Connor Griffin's going to get the attention. I'm going to go into that contract in a moment. But you have some other good ones out there as well.
Right. And that's what you've got to believe in your farm system. You've got to believe in your scouting department to bring the players in, to draft the right players, and then your player development to develop them to big league players.
Great
Especially
stuff.
the small market, small market teams don't have much choice. They can't go out and spend a lot of money on free agents. They may get 1 or 2 here and there, but they're not going to spend a lot of money on free agency. They've got to develop.
Well, that's it. You just hit 2 bullseyes in one comment, Uncle Warren. You have farm system and then small market. If that isn't a bullseye, tell me what one is. All right.
Yeah.
All right, that's just great stuff. Okay, Tony.
Yeah, I think you're able to see these players so young now and see them go through so many different things with the MLB develops, 18 USA. You see so much stuff. So I think these teams kind of know what they got with these young players, and they just ready to fast track them to the big leagues. The interesting thing with these players getting these contracts are the players that are already in the big leagues at said position, right? Like when Seattle signed their shortstop to that deal, it's like, well, how long are you keeping him in AAA at this point, right? Like if I'm JP Crawford, I'm probably nervous. Like if I'm these other players, I'm like, okay, I got to either play lights out or I need to be figuring out where's my trade destination, because you're not signing these contracts for these players to stay in AAA. So that's going to be an interesting thing, how fast this transition is. And we're going to start seeing it just like in multiple sports. We see it in the NBA. You see it in the NFL. You're seeing it now. Man, MLB is about to be a young man's game, and you're seeing it with these contracts because they're not signing you to not play.
Okay, Candy.
You know, I think it's a testament to a lot of different factors. I think part of it is technology and how technology has advanced player development at the younger ages. You can watch yourself and you know your bat and your swing, and it's recorded, and so then you can go back and you can look at it. And I think that's changed the game a lot. I think a lot of great baseball minds at the minor league level, at even the college level, to help develop these young kids to get the young players into. And then, of course, yes, the scouts play a huge role. They've got to hit on these players, and some of them they're hitting on. But I think it also stems from more of these young players are one sport dimension players, and so I think they've developed from a young age, and they're playing just the one sport, just playing baseball. So I think they're developing more at a younger age, as opposed to kids being kids and kids playing 4 different sports, and so they're not always focused on just one. I think those are a couple of the things that have led to this as well.
Great points all the way around by the panel. All I'll say is this. That's why I said I'll show you a glimpse into MLB's future. You got some really good young players to look forward to. Let's continue the theme. We already danced around it. Now we're going to hit it head on. Connor Griffin's extension, by the way, for the Pirates is 9 years, $140 million, the largest deal in franchise history and Pittsburgh history. That says a lot. Very above them. Pirates finally spending money on one of their young studs. At some point, I guess they're probably going to get sick and tired of losing. But yes, I believe that's definitely an enticement to keep Paul Skeens around. Barry, please take it from there.
First off, no chance on Skeens. He's gone.
Okay.
But Griffin, I like the deal for the Pirates. I think it's cheap. I mean, this guy, if he doesn't get injured and he plays to what he looks like he's going to play to, this is cheap for them and a great deal, great signing for the organization. And an interesting point, this kid's 19 years old, and he's already married. So he's a baseball guy. He wants to play baseball. That's his main focus. I think it's a great signing for the club. I'm not sure it's a great signing for him, but how much money can you spend? He'll be 28, 29 when he comes up for free agency. So he'll have another shot at the trough. So he's okay. I think it's a good deal. I don't think I would advise him to have done it, but I think it's a good deal for the organization.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think Skeens is going to be gone when he sees there's more monetary opportunities, a chance to win on a consistent basis. Okay, we'll turn over to Eric. Excuse me.
I mean, like we were talking about with Connor Griffin, he's obviously he's going to be, they're counting on him to be a cornerstone player there. And, I've been saying it all night. I mean, the Brewers did it with Cooper Pratt, which actually, believe it or not, he's a Scott Boras client, which was even more surprising because I was shocked that Scott Boras would do an in-house extension, because Scott Boras very rarely does in-house extension, if ever. The most recent one was Jose Altuve, because Jose Altuve insisted on staying to the jargon of Boras because he knew he could have made money somewhere else, because you could tell the guy was miserable sitting at that table on that day in Houston. But he's, they're counting on him to be the cornerstone, and he's going to be that guy that they're going to hopefully build around. I know Andrew McCutchen was that guy at one point. Pedro Alvarez was that guy at one point. And I think the same could be said at Garrett. They looked the same way at Garrett Cole when he was there. But Connor Griffin, we'll see how he does, because we've seen it go sideways, like the White Sox with Eloy Jimenez.
Okay, Uncle Warren.
Well, they're definitely taking a chance, but they got to believe in he was the number one pick, so he's got to be have a great future. And again, like Barry said, he's married already, he's stable, he's got a stable lifestyle. He's even for a 19-year-old. He's got a chance of being a superstar, one of the best players in the game, and that's a cheap contract, really, if in the long run, if he can blossom and produce like they expect him to. And I agree with Skeens. He's gone. He's not going to stick around. They don't give those guys. They don't give a pitcher 7-8 year extensions through free agency. And by the time they've spent a year or two on the big leagues, you can see how good they're going to be, and the good ones have a chance to go where they want to go.
All right, Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm with Bigfoot, man. If I'm the agent, I'm probably punching the air. We're not doing this. There's more money to be had. But some people just want stability. Some people want to know that they're set for however long their life is going forward, and that seems to be the mutual agreement between team and player. I hope this not a Paul Skeens move. I think maybe they should have gave more money to Kyle Schwarber or something like that if they wanted to try and make Paul Skeens moves. But hey, man, shout out to Pittsburgh, right? We always say teams need to spend money. Teams need to spend money. This is them spending money, man. So I respect them for at least trying to do that.
Andy?
Griffin said, this week has been amazing. Debut week and then sitting here signing a contract. It's been amazing. One of the best weeks of my life. The largest previous deal handed out by the Pirates was an 8-year, $106.75 million extension for outfielder Brian Reynolds. The previous record for a player so early in his career was Boston outfielder Roman Anthony's 8-year, $130 million contract with a 9-year club option. Griffin is the third rookie this spring to sign a long-term extension following Seattle signing shortstop Cole Emerson and Milwaukee giving shortstop Cooper Pratt. Both of those, though, remain at AAA. So, but Connor Griffin, good for him. Hopefully it'll turn out good for the Pirates. You just never know.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take this over to Shohei Ohtani, because you know what? For the year, he says, here, get this. His teammates gives him $4,000 Seiko watches with a note. Let's repeat. Come on, Shohei, raise the stakes. Give these guys Rolexes, my God. Seikos are fine. Rolexes are better. But he's got enough money with all that money coming later. Barry, some thoughts about Shohei. And the Seiko
I'll be honest with you. If he gave him Grand Seiko, it's probably a better watch than Rolex. The Grand Seiko on the testing is a better watch, although Rolex, that's the name you want. But if I was Japanese, I believe I'd be giving up the Grand Seiko watches because it is a great watch.
Well, I like your insight. That's pretty interesting. Okay. All right, Eric, you're smiling from here, from east to west. Let's give me your thoughts on this one.
Well, it's a Japanese company, so of course you're going to go with your homeland's product.
Right.
But Ohtani, from what I've gathered though, will do anything for his team. I've seen him hit leadoff before. He will do anything that helps the team wins. It's not something that that's inbred in him. He was like that with the Angels, and he's clearly grateful for the team he has around him. So now he's buying them things, and so it's great, good for Ohtani.
Hey, Uncle Warren.
Well, it's a good. To me, it's good that how he treats his teammates. He likes his teammates. He's happy to be in LA. They've won 2 World Series. He was looking forward to a three-peat, and he's also partnered with Seiko watches. So
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, I looked at it up, and he's also in a partnership with Seiko watches, so that might have had something to do with it also.
I think that had everything to do with it. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you. All right.
No, that's it.
That's really great stuff. Well, now
Yeah.
it makes me want to bite my tongue. I can think of better things to bite than that. But see, when I give you guys these things ahead of time, you always bring something good to the show outside what you did on the field. Now you're establishing what you do off the field, like research. Great stuff, Uncle Warren.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, go ahead, Hollywood.
Yeah, Warren, that partnership had everything to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't. Now I'm wondering. I don't think Ohtani paid $1 out of pocket for that. That was probably all used for advertisement. Now you can say that all the Dodgers wear Seiko watches, all that good stuff, but that still doesn't take away from Ohtani, right? He still will do. He's a teammate. Like, he's a great teammate. But he got somebody's wife a Porsche just to be able to wear number 17, right? Like, he's not alligator arms when it comes to the check. But this was definitely for promotional purposes only, I think.
All right.
Okay, Candy.
Dodger players had 2 gifts waiting for them at their lockers when they arrived at the ballpark. One was a bottle of Traveler whiskey from Dave Roberts, and the second was a $4,000 Seiko watch from Shohei Ohtani, complete with a note that said, "Let's three-peat."
Okay.
What a nice gift! If I don't care if he has a partnership with Seiko, to still get a $4,000 watch, you can give me that kind of gift any day of the week.
All right. Well,
Very timely, if I may say so myself.
once we start getting
There it
the
is.
revenue, that's good to know. We'll see if our sponsors can phone you up $4,000 and give you a watch, Candy. All right. In the meantime, the watches we have will have to work. But all right, we talked about the ABS and Don Mattingly. Now it's time for Candy to pull it out and let everybody know what Donnie Baseball has to say about the ABS. And we're going to, since very obviously he's been studying it more often, I look forward to everybody's comments about the ABS system. Go ahead, Candy, roll the tape.
ABS system they're incorporating. I like it. I think it's going to make everybody better. I think it's going to create a little more offense for me. The umpires are going to get better because they know they're being judged on every edge, right? So guys can challenge that, but you only get 2, so I don't think it's going to slow the game down any. But I do like it.
I know next year at this time, I hope we're talking, but it looks like.
Okay. With that said, Barry, what are your thoughts?
If Donnie Baseball's for it, I'm for it. There you go.
All right, Eric.
Oh, it's been great. We get ourselves a much better product on the field. Umpires got to actually be on their game, not Angel Hernandezing it out there. No, it's also created like a much better environment for the players as well as managers too, because that was obviously you get Aaron Boone jawing less about balls and strikes. And so it's led to less ugly scenes out on the field. I know it's entertaining when you see it, but at the same time, it's not fun for anybody involved because nobody wins in that situation. Unless you're Billy Martin or Earl Weaver, who they took getting ejected as a win, I guess. But it's been great for the game. Much better product, creates more offense, and pitchers are becoming much more sharper. I think the key now is teams are trying to figure out when they what and when they need to challenge, because right now you're seeing people burn their challenges early in the ball game, which is not good. So I think teams are still trying to figure out what and when to use it for.
Okay, Uncle Warren.
Well, I think it's good. I think it's good for the game. I'm kind of surprised because I didn't think they're taking away the more human element out of the game, but it works as far as I've seen. Doesn't delay the game. It just takes a few seconds. It's done. Boom, boom, and they keep the game going. So it doesn't. That was my biggest concern, was it was going to slow the game down, but that doesn't. It doesn't seem to be the point, or it doesn't seem to have anything to do with that. Game's still going right along. It doesn't take that much time for them to make the ruling.
Yeah, the ABS system seems to be growing on me. Like I said, Uncle Warren, you said it, not delaying it that much. It's all about getting it right. Go ahead, Tony.
Right.
Yeah, I was against the human, taking out the human element of it, but it's so quick. Like, I love the speed of it. Reviewing every other sport seems like it bogs down the game, it slows down the game, it makes games choppy. What's this, 5-6 seconds, and it's on a jumbotron, so everybody gets to know what's going on at the same exact time in the moment. I'm all for it. I do think strategy is interesting, how certain players are using it. The first time we seen the ABS was with the Yankees, on a 0-1 pitch. It was like, bro, the first pitch you see of the season, you use the ABS. I guess you just was too excited with it being a new toy. So, but I like it. And if Donnie Baseball's for it, who am I to be against it?
Okay, Candy?
Let's face it, you get to a game unless you are right, and then you get to keep challenging. But if you get 2 wrong, you're done. The most batters have tried are 3 times. The most a pitcher has challenged a call is once. The most catcher has successfully challenged. JT Realmuto has 5, and he's correct on all 5. I think the more interesting tell is some of the umpires, how many calls of theirs are getting overturned. Now, there are some that it's very few, but there are some that, like, out of 17 calls that were asked to be replayed, 15 of them were overturned by one umpire. I think it's gonna really change some of the umpires and maybe have them really fine tune and look and see what their plays they're calling. I think it's good because I like getting the call right.
Okay, 2 more topics to get to. Then we have Barry's insights left to go in the show. Appreciate all the participation in the chat room for sure. Topic number 1: Joe Buck turned down MLB postseason games. He says it's a chapter of my life that really it's an itch that doesn't need to be scratched anymore. I've done all that stuff. Barry, some thoughts about Joe Buck saying I don't need the postseason anymore.
I like his daddy better, but he's been a good, he's been good at his craft. Been there a long time. I don't think he's as good in baseball as his dad was in baseball, but if he feels like he's done enough, he's done enough. Turn the page. I'm sure he's made a lot of money, so I'm sure that's not a problem for him.
Yeah, Jack Buck was as good as they get. Eric?
I mean, he's covered All-Star games, the World Series, the postseason. I know he was the announcer when the Cubs won the World Series. He gave homage to his dad when the David Freese game-winning blast happened to send the 2011 World Series to Game 7. Like, what more do you need to do? You've reached the pinnacle of that sport. Obviously, he's not. Obviously, I think he part of the reason he's in the position he's in at times is because he's living off his father. But I think he feels like he's done everything he can do for the game as a broadcaster, and he feels like he's kind of conquered that challenge of calling a game. And I think that and I think it's fair. I think that he's pretty content calling Monday Night Football with Troy Aikman, but I think that he feels as though he's conquered that challenge, and he's given how long he's lasted in the booth. I think it's a fair assessment.
It's funny how you bring that point up, Eric, because at times myself being in the industry, Barry, you know it as well as anybody, for now 47 and a half years, there are times when you just feel like you've done a lot that you don't mind backing off, you know what I mean, and doing other stuff. And I've kind of got to the point myself now where my goal is to hit 50 years in the business, and I don't mind backing off a little. And I can appreciate Joe Buck. I've gotten to know him on a couple of occasions. He's a super nice guy. We get along great. And one of my favorite stories with his dad was over at Pompano Beach Municipal Stadium. The Cardinals were in town facing the Texas Rangers, who once upon a time played in Pompano. His dad takes out the window and he gets nailed by a foul ball, and he comes out there showing the bruise on his arm. And I got to know his dad then, but Joe has been really a class act for sure. But we all have to know when it's time to back off a little, knowing what we've done, what we want to do, and focus on certain things. So I empathize where he's coming from. But yeah, Jack Buck for sure. All right, Uncle Warren.
Well, yeah, Joe Buck had some big shoes to fill with his father. His father was a classic, one of the best broadcasters ever to do baseball. And it's time for him to back off, just like everybody said. You know, he's been there, done that, and he just wants to stick to football now, and that's fine. Good, he's done well, and more power to him.
Yeah, I mean, I believe he's a Ford Frick Award winner. If he isn't, he's gonna be. But all right, Tony.
Hey man, I grew up on Joe Buck, man. I love Joe Buck. He can do whatever he wants. He's done it all, right? And like you said, Scott, he's reached a point of I might want to just chill. I got Monday Night Football. That's enough for me. ESPN is getting the Super Bowl this year, so he's calling the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
He's done it all, right? So hey, gear up for the Super Bowl. I know those Disney ESPN checks are pretty nice, so he's cool.
Candy, I know he's your favorite announcer.
You know, he's been calling games for how long? The baseball season is how long? And yes, he does Monday Night Football. Think about it. How often do you want to be calling Monday Night Football someplace and have to jump on a plane and fly in the middle of the night because you're calling a Tuesday day game in the playoffs? That's a lot of traveling. That's a lot of wear and tear. And as people age, sometimes they want to take it easier. And the other thing is maybe he feels that he's done it. It's time to let somebody else get the opportunity to call those things as well, you know, and not have all the travel that he does and be away from his family. I get it. So kudos to him for, you know, going out, doing it on his terms, and him being able to say, you know what, I want to only focus on this, as opposed to, you know, my health is causing me to do this, or something like that. So,
Well, Candy, you live it every day. How many times I told you I want to do things on my terms, right? How many times have you heard that? How many times do you hear it? Tell everybody else. Barry knows. I mean, people that know me, Warren, Uncle Warren's there, Tony, and Eric. I mean, go ahead. I mean, you live with it every day, Can.
exactly. The older you get, the less that you want to be busy all the time, and you want to pick and choose when you do things and what you want to do. I get it.
My goal these days is to develop younger talent to keep the programming going. Why do you think I got guys like Eric and Tony, and I got Cody Spink in hockey, and a bunch of other guys ready to go out there and do what they've got to do? Because these are people that are designed to keep this platform alive. I want to make sure that Barry and Warren have a chance to get their voice out there. And I'm surrounding them with great future talent, but I don't plan to give this show up anytime soon. I'm having too much fun with it. But Alzheimer's is going to get to me. I mean, it's already attacking me to begin with. I'm just trying to stall this stupid thing. My final topic of the night. Unfortunately, bad news in the world of sports. Milwaukee Brewers, rest in peace of Phil Garner, 1949 to 2026, known as scrap iron pancreatic cancer. Everybody's thoughts on scrap iron. You talk about one of the most unbelievable people out there. Phil Garner is one of them. Barry?
Yeah, I like scrap iron. Played against him many years in the National League. He was a hard-nosed player, you know, became a great manager, and I just really hate to see it. I've lost two friends to pancreatic cancer in the last couple of years. It unfortunately is a death sentence in most cases, and you don't die easy. It's a bad death. I hate to see it for him and his family.
Yeah. All right, Eric?
I remember Phil Gardner actually I remember him more with the Houston Astros as their manager.
Okay.
He actually had the Astros to their most success they had in a while up to that point. He even led them to the 2005 World Series, which people forget about that World Series when he had Andy Pettitte, Roger Clemens, Craig Biggio, and Morgan Ensberg, who had 100 RBI that year. But you know, he got them that far, although they were swept by the Chicago White Sox. But you know, he had a lot of success as a manager, and you know, it's too bad that a great baseball man was lost.
Uncle Warren?
Right, he was a consistent player without question. You know, he was tough. He was a good player. You know, I enjoyed, you know, and had great respect for him. You know, because he played hard. You know, and you can't help but respect players that play hard. And then he took his playing days after his playing days were over to the manager's chair and did a great job with that. You know, he's just an all-time lifer in baseball. You know, it's sad to see somebody like him pass.
Yeah, it's hard to believe though. He was actually the first manager for the Detroit Tigers in the new Comerica Park. He was there for a couple of years, but yeah, his work on and off the field as a manager and a player is certainly unforgettable. Okay, Tony.
Yeah, I'm with Eric. I remember him more as the manager for the Astros. But I know next week we might have to do a topic on best baseball nicknames. Because Scrap Iron has to be up there on that list somewhere. That is just a great baseball nickname. I was just looking it up. 76.
It's not number
Bigfoot.
one.
I'm telling you, Bigfoot.
That'd be Mr. October, who's number one.
True,
Yeah,
true.
I'll tell you what, Tony. We do something like that. I'm going to let you lead a segment because you're going to need to practice with Eric anyways, and I'll let Barry and Warren go out there and let you lead one topic. Go ahead and send me a text message what you want to do, and I'll put that on the list. And then you and Eric will give Tony and Eric will give Barry and Warren a preview of what's going to happen on July 11th. All right, Tony? I'll see you on Wednesday. I'll kind of grill you a little bit to let you do this. Okay, you two have earned it. A little preview. Okay.
All right, cool. Yeah, but just from what I was reading, and a good note in this, if it could be Bigfoot, it said he passed away peacefully with his family. So that's, if there's a way to go, that is the way to go out. So that's a good thing.
All right, Candy.
On October 30th, 1991, Garner was named manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, replacing Tom Trebelhorn. He was hired by general manager Sal Bando, his former A's teammate. He was one of several former players at the time named manager of a major league team without previous major league managing experience. He quickly installed, and I remember this, he quickly installed a running focused style of play, as every starter that year stole at least 10 bases. Standing out were 1992 AL Rookie of the Year Pat Listash, who stole 54 bases, veteran Paul Molitor, who stole 31, that was doing so in his final season with the team, and outfielder Darrell Hamilton stole 41. I remember him. He didn't have as much success as we would have liked in the Brewers organization, but he was there for quite a while. Then in 2000, he was hired to manage the Tigers. He managed them for a couple seasons, and then the Astros in 2004.
Great career, rest in peace, for sure. Phil
Yes.
Garner. Oh, okay, with that said, our final segment of the show, we'll turn it over to Barry, Bigfoot. Provide me with some insight. What's on your mind? Who knows?
Well,
I think that
total
might
embarrassment. I'm going to have to tell you, I'm totally embarrassed for the catching profession after watching Jonah Heim allow a hitter to get to his pitcher, not even charging the pitcher, just walking out there to the pitcher. I'm totally embarrassed by that. Hitter never should get to the pitcher, never would get to the pitcher if I was catching. And I guarantee you, it's just the sissification of that position, and I'm embarrassed for him.
I mean, you obviously played the position well, so great stuff. All right, so here's what we've got lined up next week on Monday night with this group. We have one more show to go, and then Warren, Barry, Eric, Tony will take a little bit of a break, okay, for a couple of weeks, and we'll be back, I believe, May 10th, Candy, the first Monday that we get back to do this again. Everybody have a chance to catch their breath. We appreciate what they've done. But I'm going to have a really good show lined up, Tony. If you do what you have been asked to do and give me that text, then we'll incorporate that topic, and I'll have a lot of great stuff as well. So then we'll be back on May 10th. So I love this group. This group is unbelievable. We try to get as much information as we can, and we try to do what we have to do. But meanwhile, with that said, Barry, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you, my partner.
You can get a hold of me on Monday nights here with the Mad Mouth himself every Monday night at 8 p.m.
I look forward to it, man. You are the best, Barry. All right, Eric. I know you're going to be all over the planet, but go ahead. Let everybody know they get a hold of you. I don't care how many times, as long as it sticks.
You can follow me on my Twitter account @SportsTeamNews and you can check out my my new blog home at southfloridatribune.com, where I'm writing about all things baseball. If you think I don't like the same line goes, if you think I don't like your team on there, I probably don't. And you could check out my new show July 11th with Hollywood Tony and whoever else decides to pop in the room. We're going to be talking about all things baseball, and you better tune in because you have no idea what I'm going to say.
And by the way, the only correction is this is not a blog home. Okay, this is an online publication. You graduated and took a step up in class. Okay, just remember that. So you had a blog. Now you're with a sports writer. Just so you know, Eric, for the future. All right, Uncle Warren, please put it out there. Look forward to next week as we have, as Candy and I hit the travel scene out. You'll see a lot of my videos all over the place. You never know it's going to come out of Motor Mad Mouth, the mouth right there. Uncle Warren.
I can be sure on Monday nights with Scott, the Motor City Mad Mouth himself, Morganroth. You can see me here every Monday night.
Oh, we love having you, Uncle Warren. You're the best. And it's lots of great stuff in store. All right, Hollywood Tony, give it to me.
It's Hollywood, baby. Nah, you can find me at Tony Talking Game on YouTube, Talking Game 1 on all social media. I'm here on Mondays. I'm here on Wednesday nights. I'm going to be here on Saturdays. Wednesday, I do my own show. We go live at 3:30 every afternoon. We talking game. We talk all sports. This weekend, I do want to say, it's WrestleMania weekend. Going to be a lot of lives. We're doing pre-show, post-show for both nights. Make sure you guys tune in.
Hey, if you don't show up on Saturday, you got to own up to Eric. I'm out of that one. I'll be out of it on July 11th. I'll take you guys to the starting line, okay, until then, and then you guys are on your own. You're going to make out of that show what you want. And I'm sure Barry and Warren will be paying attention. I'll send them your shows as well if they want me to. They'll see how these you guys have developed. All right, Candy, take us to the finish line.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media and how it has evolved. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, as well as the audiobook is out there if that's up your cup of tea. On our website, there is a plethora of great content. And yes, Mr. Eric is writing for us, so you've got to go check his awesome articles. Then, if you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Monday nights is baseball nights. Tuesday nights is football. Wednesday nights, you never know what Scott's got up his bag of tricks when he does his Motor City Mad Mall show. You never know who he's going to be interviewing or what he's going to be talking about. And then on Sports Exchange, you never know what things he's going to throw up his bag of tricks that he's going to throw at us. Tony, right? You never know. We're like clueless. He doesn't give us topics. All of a sudden, he throws these out at us. And we just got to go roll with it. And then Thursday nights on Sports Wrap, he's talking either on the soccer field or on the hockey ice. You never know which one he's going to be talking. And he's got some former players on there, and he's got some exciting news. He's trying to get a really big guest. Stay tuned, and we'll definitely tell you before it happens. And then on Fire Up, come over to the country club. If you want to relax and have a more relaxing atmosphere, come on over Thursday nights to the show I lead, Fire Up, 9:30 p.m. on Thursday nights. And one last thing I'm going to plug. I am on the 3 Chicks in a Pod, or Chicks and Salsa, depending on how many chicks we have on a given Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Check us out. Girls Talking Sports. Back to you, Scott.
All right, well, that does it for this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. So on behalf of Barry Foote, Bigfoot, Eric Katz, Warren Brewstar, Hollywood Tony, and Candy, my name is Scott Morgan. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next Monday night for the final show while we're at it for a little while. And, of course, don't worry, there'll be plenty of programming on the network. Well, I'm looking forward to the next Monday's show. I guarantee it'll be packed for sure. So, with that said, Good night, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, and get ready for next week. I guarantee you, it'll be packed with a lot of great stuff. Good night, everybody. Have a great baseball week. Bye now.
Peace.
Good night.
Night.